Don't forget the visions of time dungeons had Tyrande and all the Night Elves lost in the shadow of Elune, and Elune's light guides us to defeat and save Tyrande. Was that foreshadowing for the future? What's your thoughts on that?
The end time dungeon, yeah. I mean, you've recently put out a video on that I gave you a bunch of notes for.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think there's a lot of foreshadowing in that dungeon that may not necessarily have been meant as foreshadowing at the time for what we're getting now. But a lot of Shadowlands is we're going to introduce this story and we're going to tie it in to things to make it relevant and make you go, oh, that makes sense.
Yes.
Because they wanted to put a new story out, but instead of going out on a limb and saying, we've got a new story for you, they wanted to capture on that nostalgia and take that clout that previously established story can give them. So yeah, End Time's definitely something that is a lot more relevant now than it ever has been before.
I 100% agree with you. Now, before people go, well, Blizzard wouldn't have planned that far forward at the time. They don't have to, right? Remember, Blizzard didn't just forget that End Time exists. Like, whenever Mists of Pandaria came out, Blizzard didn't just go, what was our last expansion? Oh, who gives a fuck? Let's just continue writing the story anyways. They remember all the things they put in there. So now that we're at a point where that starts to seem relevant, they can go back and look at End Time and say, okay, how do we do things there? Well, we clearly want to start or continue on the story. Now, there's two things right now that we have yet to see in End Time. It's Bane and it's Nosdormu. Those are the two things that have, as of yet, not come to pass. And then Sylvanas, which has to be saved. Which, of course, Blizzard is going to achieve with, sad to say, a split fucking soul. That's how we save Sylvanas.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But, question here, how? How do you... will we merge her old soul and her new soul? Will her new soul just be the new version while we kill the old soul? Like, what's their ideas here?
So there are two ways this could possibly happen at the moment, I think, or two very likely ways it can possibly happen. There's a lot of ways it could possibly happen, but two very likely ways. One, that we just put down the bad side. Like, oh no, you're the evilness, we're going to kill you, we're going to purify her soul, essentially. And so we get Ranger, Sylvanas, General, and everything's all fine, she's happy again, because we killed her depression. Or with the Kyrian and their merging with the Force One and the changing of the purpose and all that stuff to come in 9.1, we actually do a little bit of therapy, basically, and get her to come to terms and accept her other half and kind of actually merge them back into one being of good and bad side again. And I can see you face-palming so fucking hard because I hate that story. I hate that that's where they're likely going to go.
If I didn't have glasses on, I would legitimately be face-palming right now. I just don't want to break my glasses. I cannot think of a worst fucking story. Like,
yeah,
legit,
it's stupid.
I cannot think of a worse fucking way to bring Sylvanas back into the fray. It's like... What are you talking about?
Yeah. See, what I would fucking personally love would be they start going down that road, right? Where we set up a meeting between the two sides of the soul and we're trying to get them to merge together. And then our Sylvanas, badass Sylvanas, just fucking shanks herself. Like, literally kills the Ranger Sylvanas version and the good version, absolutely fucking dicks her down, and just goes, I don't need this. I know what I need to do. I need to purge this compassionate part of me out so that I have the capability to do what needs to be done.
I could get on board with that. I don't want a Sylvanas that apologizes. I don't want a Sylvanas that goes, oopsie. Oops, sorry guys, I didn't mean it. I don't want that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because,
like, oh, my bad, didn't mean to, sorry.
Don't get me wrong, I think the cinematics is going to be absolutely balls to the wall, right? Even if they do go with the fucking facepalm story. But That's not what I want to see. It's not how I want to see Sylvanas be redeemed.
Just imagine that, like the two portions of Sylvanas come together. They go to move to embrace as they've sorted out their differences, and then all of a sudden, eyes widen on Ranger General. It's like, fuck, something's gone. The horns come in, the theme comes in, and then just badass Sylvanas whispers into Ranger General's ear, "You are nothing." And then you pull back, blood on the knife. She slumps down. Badass Sylvanas is like, "I will fix this." Boom. Done.
I mean, let's talk about possible retcons. It would be, if Blizzard does go that route, the split Sylvanas soul, it would be one of the biggest retcons of Sylvanas in a very long time. Mainly because a lot of people don't remember this, and I know this because of the amount of people that sort of bring up the first part of the quote, but never remember the other part of the quote, where Sylvanas calls the undead, the Forsaken, arrows in her quiver, right? They are simply arrows in her quiver. No one seems to bring up the actual quote where she's talking about how she used to see them. They used to be simple arrows in her quiver, but not anymore. This is when Garrosh orders her to send the Forsaken in first into Gilneas. But she doesn't want to do this because she knows that many of them will lose their lives. Many of them will die. Yeah. And in the past, before she jumped off of Iceground Citadel, she would have been like, yeah, sure, fuck him. Now she no longer does this. Anduin, the entire cinematic with Anduin. Anduin has her thinking. If she was only evil, would she be questioning? Should she be thinking about Anduin's words?
No. Like, you can obviously see through her portrayal that she is not split. And so to split her and reveal that there is a quote-unquote good portion of her running around would be to nullify her entire story and would actually just ruin the entire thing for a lot of people, not just me.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Sylvanas fanboy. I really am not. I actually dislike the character herself.
Yeah.
But that's because she was written so well, because you are meant to dislike her. You're not meant to trust her. She's meant to be that questionable character. So to kind of remove that would be to just remove the point of her character.
Yeah. Blades does make an interesting point there, where he says splitting the soul doesn't necessarily have to mean good and evil. It could just mean incomplete, right? And because she's incomplete, she lacks the... there are ways that you can do it that wouldn't be entirely horrible, but none of those ways will be brilliant. Let me just put it this way.
He does have the point, and it won't actually be a good portion or an evil portion. It will be a hope-filled portion. And one who had hope. And it's the one without hope that we actually need to keep and we need to save, because she's the only one that will actually do what needs to be done. The one that has hope, the Ranger General version, the golden version, the good version, is the one that is going to ruin it entirely.
Well, fuck it. We'll just see what Blizzard does with this story. I'm not looking forward to this, to be fair. I'm not looking forward to this.